So once again, Samsung is coming out with some new products. Probably late next month there's actually going to be announced, but there's a lot of things rumored. I think we can even expect some surprises as well. Who really knows? Maybe we'll see a Galaxy headset, like an AR, VR thing. Maybe there's gonna be a rollable display, or maybe something completely different. But in this video, I wanted to talk with you about what we expect based on the leaks and the rumors, and also what I hope to see in these new devices based on my experiences with last year's products. The things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, and really what I'm looking for in the new things, what I'm excited about. Now, we think there are going to be probably 5 to 7 different things announced based on the leaks and the renders that we've seen, and these include a Galaxy Fold5, that makes sense every year, this is the time of year they would launch it, as well as a Flip5, so like the clamshell one. We expect a Galaxy Watch 6, and I'll talk a lot more about all of these of course, but also a Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, which out of everything is probably the one I'm most excited about. Then we possibly expect some Galaxy Buds 3, and then we also expect a new Galaxy Tab, and possibly a VR or augmented reality headset, and I'll talk a lot more about that later on. But starting off with all of these, kind of in no particular order, the Galaxy Buds 3. Now, even though there are like 4 different Galaxy Buds you could buy right now, like the 2s, the Pros, the 2 Pros, like there's a lot, but the Galaxy Buds 2 are technically the entry level right now. And so we expect there to be a sequel this year called the Galaxy Buds 3, which I would expect to be about $150. And based on my experience with the Galaxy Buds 2, personally, I really much prefer the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro because even though originally I liked how small and light the Buds 2 were, I found that when I ran with them, they almost always fell out of both of my ears, not just my left ear, which most earbuds do. Like they were just so light and they didn't have a lot of geometry to grip. They were too round in my ear and they always fell out. So what would I really like to see in the new design? I think it's gonna overall look pretty similar. I think we can expect maybe a square case like this. I really do love the case of the Galaxy Buds, but I think I would like to see either wingtips on there, which I think are kind of unlikely, or at least a more abrupt geometry that could really grip the inside of your ear because, like I said, it's so light and comfortable, but they just don't stay in my ears. I also, and I've been saying this about all the earbuds I've reviewed this year, I really want to see good multi-point connectivity for all devices. Now, Samsung has their own multi-point for Samsung-only devices, but if I'm using like an iPhone and a Galaxy, I want to be able to switch between them. Or if I have an iPhone and like an HP laptop, like I really want seamless switching between everything. In addition, the transparency mode could be a little bit better on the 3s. Like it was decent on the 2s, but I think that's an area that we will see some improvement. And knowing Samsung, I'm pretty excited to see hopefully some new cool features because in all honesty, earbuds, especially the mid-range ones, are starting to get a little bit boring. These are, like the Buds 2 are already really solid earbuds, and I think adding features is really the obvious thing that they could be doing here. But moving on to the next thing, the Galaxy Watch 6 and the Watch 6 Classic. Now, we've seen a lot of similarities between the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Watch 5, like they're almost the same exact watch across the board. And I think that's because Samsung, as well as like a lot of people, myself included, really liked the design of the Galaxy Watch 4. But to release 3 watches in a row that look almost identical would feel a lot like an Apple thing to do. No offense to Apple, I like Apple stuff, but this just feels like there needs to be something a little bit different here so you can differentiate and get people to upgrade from the Watch 4. But based on the rumors and the leaks I've been seeing, it does look like it is going to be very similar. We should be expecting a 40mm and a 44mm version. Some suggest that there would be a rounder edge on here, which I have mixed feelings about. Like, I really want it to look different from the Watch 4. I think it's time for something a little new, but the rounded edges is what we had on the Galaxy Watch Active 2 back in 2019, and that watch, I really damaged the screen a lot because it didn't have that protective barrier around the glass. But if Samsung wanted to use the same design, which like I said, I'm a really big fan of, but they wanted to have a big win with the Galaxy Watch 6, I think the easiest and the best way to do that is to make a much bigger display on the same size watch. If you really got rid of that bezel, it would make it look like a much more modern watch. Other than that, we're expecting some new heart rate stuff, like a heart rhythm notification, which we can actually, that's been pretty much confirmed. But that's the Galaxy Watch 6. Overall, not a whole lot exciting here. What is most exciting is probably going to be the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic. So last year, Samsung came out with the 5 and the 5 Pro. the 5 Pro being like a rugged outdoorsy watch. But a lot of the hardcore fans of Samsung missed that rotating bezel that we saw in the Galaxy Watch 3 and the 4 Classic as well. And so now we're getting the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, which should be a fantastic looking watch, probably the best Android watch of the year if I was going to predict, with that rotating bezel based on the renders I've seen, is really going to be probably my next everyday smartwatch. As far as the interface of the watch, we are getting some validation from Apple kind of adopting the concept of widgets. Samsung's had tiles for a long time and it's a really similar idea, but I would like to see Samsung kind of modernize these tiles a little bit, kind of add some more elements in there, make use of the entire screen, because it is a lot of real estate. The Galaxy Watch 6 Classic is probably going to be a pretty large watch, with the smaller size being 42 or 43 millimeters, and the largest one being 46 or even 47 millimeters. It's gonna be a pretty large watch. Other than that, with both the 6 and the 6 Classic, I think a brighter display would be nice, although I never really had a big issue with this. If you are doing a workout in like broad daylight, it would be nice to have a couple extra nits of brightness on there. In addition, I did have some GPS issues last year with the Watch 5. Not everyone experienced this, but it has been a relatively common occurrence for recent Galaxy Watch users. So I would love to see a more accurate GPS and a more reliable GPS. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my 1 month later review from last year. Oh, and one other thing I would really like to see, especially from the Watch 6 Classic, is a long battery life. The 3-day battery was great on the Watch 5 Pro, but the Watch 6 Classic, I would really like to see a 4-day battery. Now we should expect a slight improvement in the processor on here, so maybe that can give us some extra efficiency. And that brings us to the two phones, the Z Flip 5 and the Fold 5. Now, starting off with the Flip, such a fun phone. Like the Flip 4 was a great phone. I liked using it. It was really cool because it was accessible for so many people, costing about the same as any other flagship like the S23, but having that really cool element of folding and still giving you a lot of basically flagship specs. So in the Flip 5, the exciting improvement is in the large display on the cover, a lot like what we saw on the Motorola Razr. This is getting a 3.4-inch display instead of the old 1.9, at least according to rumors. And by the way, I'll link all of these down below, the sources that I got them from. As far as the larger display on the front, some people have mixed feelings about this. Like the small display in the folding phone was nice because you didn't get as distracted, but I think it's actually a positive, because even though you can technically be on TikTok and on Instagram on the front display, you're not actually going to want to do that on a small display. So I still think that barrier still exists. And instead, it's just going to be more useful for larger notifications, maybe navigating on a map, things like that you just want to see at a glance will be easier to see because it's a larger display. Other than that, I really like that the renders are showing a boxier design, which should be more in line with kind of the general trend of Galaxy phones, the S23, for example. But I would like to see some slightly faster charging on here. Being a folding phone, the battery life is not incredible, so you're more likely to be charging it a little bit more frequently. And so the ability to like plug in and really top it off in a couple minutes is something that I really hope to see, at least faster than 25-watt charging. But then we have the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Now keep in mind, for both of these, we're a couple generations in. So we're getting a pretty mature phone here, and I think we're gonna see really a very usable phone here with very few flaws. You won't really see a lot of people talking nearly as much about the durability of the hinge or little things like that. It feels like we're finally getting a much more mature phone. So I really hope the one big thing that I know everyone's been saying for a while is an S Pen silo. So we can use an S Pen, a different kind of S Pen for the Galaxy Z Fold, like the 4 at least. But for the 5, I think the one thing that everybody really wants to see is an S Pen silo where you can store the pen in the phone. Based on the rumors and the leaks, it seems like that's not what we're going to be getting because we do have some new hinge architecture that's taking up more real estate on the inside, as well as, of course, the battery. So it's unlikely we're going to see that, but maybe Samsung will come up with a really nice case design, perhaps, that can store the S Pen on the side, not on the back, so you can actually use it. Like, I think there's going to be something here, and I'm excited to see at least what they can come up with to solve this problem, because it's really the biggest one for that phone. But going back to that hinge architecture, that's kind of the second biggest complaint people had. It didn't close flat all the way on the Fold 4, and when you opened it up, the hinge was still somewhat, like the crease was a little bit noticeable. So now there are rumors of a water drop hinge, which is more similar to Oppo's foldable, so it should be a slimmer profile, so the crease is less noticeable, and when you close it, it should be folding pretty much flat, which would be great. You won't be getting dust in there nearly as much as you did when you put it in your pocket last year. And so I think that's going to be a big positive. As far as both of these phones, we can probably expect the Qualcomm 8 Gen 2, the Samsung version that's a little bit faster. So probably a triple camera setup on the Fold and a dual camera on the Flip. Both of them, I think, are going to be pretty decent. I think the Flip is where we really want to see the biggest upgrade in the camera, because it was good last year, but that is one thing that could use a little bit of improvement, especially if you're trying to hold that $1,000 price. Like, you're competing directly with flagships that do have better cameras. And then, of course, the next one is the Galaxy Tab S9. I've been a big fan of the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. It's kind of a long name, but it's a great tablet, like a really nice display, large display, the pen works really well, and you're able to multitask on there and use it like a laptop or like a tablet or a media viewing device. Like, as far as all the tablets are concerned, like the whole market of tablets, the S8 Ultra has probably been one of my favorites. Now, the S9, I'm hoping for some improvements with the keyboard. I'm hoping for some new One UI features on there. But otherwise, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot different other than just kind of a refresh with a newer chip in there, maybe some faster storage and some basic things like that. But the last one, the probably one that maybe if you're watching this long, you're most interested in is, will there be a headset? Well, Samsung did file a trademark for Galaxy glasses, which maybe was a defensive move to stop other people from using that term, or maybe, which I'm hoping is the truth, they were just doing it because they're coming out with that product eventually. Now, I'm skeptical that we will be seeing it this year, but it's not unlikely that they would announce it, similar to what Apple did, to kind of drum up some hype and get people, on the Samsung bandwagon. Because the truth is, right now, if somebody's looking at Apple versus Samsung ecosystem, the Apple Vision Pro might be a really exciting and promising future that would push them over to the Apple ecosystem. So Samsung, I think it makes sense for them to do something similar, at least kind of tease it and show at least renders of what they think the design is going to look like, because they have to be working on it. Everybody's working on it, and it's likely to be a big part of the tech future. But that's my take on the upcoming devices from Samsung. I'm very excited to see what comes out. Leave a comment below if you have any thoughts on what these would be and what you think you'd really like to see in them that either will or will not exist. Since you watch a video this long, definitely do click that subscribe button so you don't miss my full review when it comes out.